Before we get started, there's something we really need to ask ourselves. Do we prefer bush or no bush? So there's a lot of really strong structures all over Badham. I do have a guide that goes over all of Badham and all the structures that can spawn. Link is in the description below. But the Brownstone at first glance is the one that seems the most temporary. It is really strong, but because of the 2 breakable doors on the bottom floor, that's what we mean by temporary. You can connect these 2 windows together until they break that door. Same with this thing over here. Whichever window you get to spawn over here, until they break that door, you can use that window. Now, it is RNG which windows you get. You will always get 2 windows on one side and 1 window on the other side. This time we got 2 windows on this side. It will always be lined up like this, perpendicularly, so that way you can chain them together. Like you jump out that and then you run in that way, or you run in this way and then jump out that one. They will never be facing the same direction, the 2 windows that spawn on the same side. It can spawn on this side as well. It just happened to spawn on that side this time. This time got the 1 window instead. And that's what we mean by temporary, because you can run and you can jump out this window and connect these 2 together, and it's really strong by itself, but almost never is a killer just going to chase you mindlessly through here. Most of the time they're just going to break this door if they haven't broke it by the time you make it over to Brownstone in the first place. That's when you can switch it over to this one right here and loop this until they break it, but same thing, it's only 1 window by itself and they're going to break that door. So it's temporarily really strong and it guarantees some time until they break those windows, but then you have to go on the upstairs and that has a lot more intricacies to it. For a quick example, this is what I mean by you can run over here and get some value right away, but the killer's going to break the doors and then you're going to have to leave. But this is a typical chase. We've had enough fun there. There's other buildings to have fun out here. I'll go this way. Let me break this door. He is going this way. Now, with that being said, you can spice it up and make it a lot more interesting by looking out for the bush. And this bush can spawn anywhere, not just like this. This is kind of like the perfect spawn for it. We'll get into that later because there's about like 4 different bushes you can really use. And most of the time you want to connect the bush to the 2 windows side because you can run around the bush and connect it to both windows running around the bush again. Now, it's not always going to be trimmed this perfectly. Sometimes it's going to be like a natural trim instead. And you're going to have to finagle your way into the window. It's not going to be a straight running vault where you run right out and then right into this one where it lines up perfectly. But that being said, it does line up perfectly like this often enough where you do want to keep an eye out for it, so you can run up to this and loop it just like this, because you can get this running vault this way even if they push you around the other way, right? If they push you around this way, since the bush is perfect, goes all the way past the long side, so when you run right into this, we're running right into that window. We don't have to finagle our way into a vault that we can't get a running vault or anything like that. This is the most perfect scenario that the bush can spawn. Now, the funny thing is, this is one of those loops that shows just how easy looping is, because I did not think of this loop by myself. I usually meme around on Doctor. I've been letting survivors go for like almost 2 years on Doctor now, just to have some fun and remind myself how simple it is right in the beginning. And I usually just let the survivors go, because even if I go out of my way to 12 hook, it's still unfair. It feels like they're playing a rigged game against somebody with 10,000+ hours when they have like 30 minutes played themselves. So I'm usually just memeing around, shocking them, and then letting them go. But that being said, I ran into a survivor that looked like they had like 30 minutes total played, and they were the one that ran in this. They went running this way. I pushed them around this way. They jumped this window. I walked around, saw them running around this bush just like this, not even super tight or anything, and I was just chasing them like normal, and then they turn around and they jump into this. Now, I think they did it by mistake because they didn't run back and do it again. They just like ran this way and got hit anyway. But at the same time, it was one of those things where it was like I had 8,000 hours at the time, and I'm looking at the survivor that's playing like they have half an hour total played, and then they do something I'd never had even thought of before. It's like, why was I not looking for the bush to be able to connect to these 2 windows? It literally took looking at a survivor that had 30 total minutes played. And that's what I really mean by survivors easy, is you can be 30 minutes total played in the game and be doing something that someone with 8,000 hours has never actually considered. It's literally that mechanically simple. But there's all different types of trims, and this is the perfect trim right here. We got the all natural trim where the bush actually overlaps both windows and you have to finagle your way back in. And we got landing strip type of windows where they extend from just one window and you have to try to loop around those. So instead of just starting off with the ideal scenario they're not going to get most of the time, let's go over the different bush trims you can get from weakest to strongest. So the least sophisticated bush we call the landing strip. It's by far the most simple, the most delicate, and does the least amount of work. The thing is, you usually get it extended from the back or the front where it goes into one corner, but that's what makes it impossible really to connect it to multiple windows, especially once the killer has broken this door. Once the killer broken this door, then it's really just connects into this window and it's still not really that great. But it's a lot of fun just to try to get some value out of, because you're looping around this bush, you end up in that same type of back and forth, but you really have that goal of trying to get to that window, right? So you're gonna run around this way. Sometimes the window's there, but I've never never seen a landing strip lined so perfectly in the window. That's really only the perfectly trimmed bush. So every time you get a landing strip like this, you're gonna have to run around and cut into this way. I've never had a killer actually just push me right around the exact way we really wanted to go right into it. But the thing is with the landing strips is you can get it at any corner. You can get it at that corner, you can get it at this corner here with one of the windows, you can even get it at that front corner over there with one of the windows. And it's just really fun to try to get even 1 or 2 loops, or even just get it back and forth, because when you're doing that back and forth with the killer at the landing strip, you're still wasting their time. You don't have to get a vault or have to get a certain amount of loops around the bush to have it actually matter and get some value. The fact that you're wasting their time in the first place around a bush is hilarious enough. Now, it's not always going to work out perfectly between the two of you either, so you can expect something along the lines of this when you see a landing strip. Oh, fuck. Well, this is bad. I don't think I make that. Damn it. She said nope. No, it's blocked. But you can still make the good plays that you really want to. And like I said, if you get any value out of that landing strip, you worked that good. I wish we had the bush. Bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. Dig around this way.
Hello? Anybody there?
Damn it. I wanted this to go into this right here. Can we use this one? Yes! An extra bonus with landing strips is they're the only ones that can seemingly get you any value out of this shed at all. Because I always wondered why the shed was even here. There's no window or anything. It's not big enough to like run around and connect to a window. But if you have a landing strip close enough and the killer is pushing you from that direction and you get pushed around this way, you can go around this way. Then you can, if you want to, just for fun, run right through the bush and then try to connect it to that window. Yeah, bush value. Don't double back, don't double back. Yeah! Now the downside about that is because you have to run past checkpoints to actually make that work, when you're running around here and you go through the bush, the killer can double back and you won't have a chance at seeing that whatsoever. 10, 12 hours long type deal. Hey, chase me this way. I can't see, so don't double back. Just like that. So that's what we mean by the landing strip being the least desirable out of all the different trims of bush. So this one here is the all-natural bush. This one ends up being the strongest bush, not because of how strong it actually is, but just because killers are actually confident enough to approach this bush and try different things on them. Now what I mean by all-natural is because it's not perfectly trimmed where it goes right into either window. You kind of have to finagle your way in there, where it's kind of like decorating the windows themselves, right? But because of that, you can't actually get a running vault at all. Like, no matter what you do, you're not out far enough to get the running vault. It actually sometimes can hurt you a little bit if you're coming this way, because I don't think you can get far enough away and you can still get M1'd here. At least it's been close enough where I thought I was 100% out there and then I got hit anyway and I was like, I don't know if you can actually hit that. Now the reason it's all natural is because it's not perfectly trimmed to go right into the window like the other one is. The other one literally looks like someone did it on purpose. This one lines up a little bit more naturally like you would expect, right? So you can run on the outside around this, just like this, as you're doing with the original bush that way, and you're gonna do the exact same thing essentially. And you can get a running vault that way if you go a little bit out of your way, and same thing this thing here. The thing is it goes out a little bit farther. So when you come in this way and go right into this, the killer does have to go a little bit farther past and then out of their way to get over there to cut you off. And same thing, since they have to go a little bit farther around the bush, it takes them longer to go into that way for you to be able to get there. So if you're coming around this way and you see them going that, it gives you opportunity to be able to turn it around and go to wherever the other window is. This time it spawned over here and we can jump this one instead. But the reason the chases go on so much longer at the natural bush than the perfectly trimmed bush is just because killers are comfortable enough to try new things out. And they're going to keep trying it until something actually works, because they're like, I want to get past this bush, but I can't figure out the best way through it. So I'll end up trying a bunch of different things. Now, this bush specifically, you're going to end up having to watch for the red stain, because once that door right there in the middle is open, they're going to be pushing around either way, and they're going to try to gain distance on you. If you're in chase, you can't use the tear radius, because if you're not in chase, you can just listen to the tear radius, and you're like, oh, I'm getting closer or farther away, and it's really hard for them to actually mind game you. If you're in chase, you can still see the red stain. It's really hard to see, but you can actually see through these bushes a little bit. Doesn't mean that it works all the time, because it is incredibly difficult to see, because I've definitely had it work where we're just sitting here in this kind of going back and forth side by side until they finally come around one edge, and then that will finally push us one way in. Oh, there he is. Back to the bush. But like I said, you can mess that up too, because it's really easy to mess up since it's really hard to see through this, and sometimes they don't have a red stain if they're playing a stealth killer or something like that, so it is really hard. So don't beat yourself up if you get hit once or twice trying to actually just run around the bush in the first place. Yeah, do we have this set up? I can't fucking see him. Where's the red stain? Now, one downside about the natural bush and the perfectly trimmed bush is when you really want to loop it, the killer might lose you, right? Because they might not know what you're actually doing. Most of the survivors will just run and try to loop these two windows together, because that's what you do if there's no bush there. You just try to loop these two windows together and connect it to the other thing. So that's what they're used to. So if you jump that and you come around here, especially if you're on one of the other Badhams where the bush is on the outside of the map and there's nothing over there, the killer's going to walk around and be like, huh, I lost him. They might even chalk it up to the scratch marks being really inconsistent, because they definitely are, or chalking it up to the sound being inconsistent, because it definitely is. But no matter what they end up chalking it up to, sometimes you really want to work around the bush, but then the killer just loses you and they end up leaving and going somewhere else, which is always kind of sad, not gonna lie. I'm not sure where the other survivors are at, so I'm gonna try to take them hopefully where they're not. I'm gonna try to loop around this bush. There he goes. But in the end, this most of the time ends up the most valuable bush. I've definitely lasted the longest with the all-natural bush than I have any of the other bushes, but like I said, I think that just gives the killer more freedom to be comfortable enough to try anything new that he's been wanting to try for a while. So here's exactly how long we lasted with that all-natural bush, starting with the worst chases, the shortest ones, up until the longest chases after. We make this, it's gonna be close. Yes, I can't believe I made it. I never get that shit. Oh god, I'm not gonna make it this time. Thought he double backed. No, they're coming from the other way. Whoopsie. Can I make it all the way around? So where the fuck are they? Use the bush. Medium vault. Loop the bush. Bush value! Yes! Yeah, the bush value! I went like the complete opposite direction of the hook and not directly back in the line of sight of the hook. That right there was why. Use the bush. I wonder if I can make it back around this way. Are you a fan of bush? Damn. I should have. Well, I wouldn't have gone anywhere if I faked it. Oh my god. What the fuck? How many walls did that shit go around? Where the fuck did the dog come from? How the fuck did I get caught by that? Can we make this? Oh god, they got it. Good shit. Nice. We got some super bush value there. Now this right here is the perfect bush. We were talking about this one earlier about how this is the ideal scenario that you want to find, where one side that extends into the window that's going straight out or forward from the house, you want that to be the long side of the bush to extend, so you run around it this way, right? If you're coming from the outside and you just get to run a straight shot in here, because if it was on the side, you'd have to finagle and you would not be able to get a running vault. Still useful, but you would not be able to get a running vault. This right here is where you can just run this perfect circle just like this, go around here, jump this window right here, just like that, and it literally just loops just like that. Even if they go on the inside in between, you can run back and forth, but we were talking about that earlier with the all natural bush and the other bushes. Really, you really have to be paying attention to where the red stain is. Sometimes you can't see it, sometimes you do get hit, as we were talking about it earlier. If you're out of the chase, you can listen to the tail radius even better, but the perfect trim, no matter which way you push it, you're running the exact direction you want. So if you push you in this way, then you can still get the running vault. They go around that way and they push you out this way, and you can run this, come around here, and run around this way, right? So even if you're running that way, it's the perfect one. If they push you this way, it's the one we were doing before. You push around this, run right into this, whichever way. If they push around that way, with that door still blocked, you can run around and jump this way and get pushed around that way. Now the downside of having the perfectly trimmed bush is it accentuates the two windows too beautifully, and a lot of killers will lack the confidence to be able to approach that perfectly trimmed bush. So unfortunately, a lot of the time on this one, as opposed to all natural bush, the killers will leave sooner than expected because they realize faster just how broken it really is and that there's not really too much they can do about it, especially when the door is not broken yet. Sometimes they'll just break the door and leave too, but that is the big downside of having the perfectly trimmed bush, is killers are afraid of it and they do leave very quickly. Hey, we got great bush. Look at that great bush. And because of that, you end up with longer chases at the all-natural bush, but that's literally just because killers will commit to it longer, not because it's stronger. Now, inevitably, killers are going to open the door right here, in between this. But the thing is, when you still have the perfect bush, there's still ways you can turn it around. Even though it doesn't turn around as easily as the all-natural bush, it lines up better, but when you jump this window here or the other window there, it's less distance for the killer to go around that way, which they're not going to end up doing. They're going to end up going that way and trying to push you around. But the good thing is there's two things you can do. You can either push around this way to reline up the window if they did, and then you push in this way, and you can run and wait for them to see which way you're going, and you can jump this way, and you can either turn around and go back in that way, or you can run back around the bush again. Or the more interesting thing that you can try to do is use the middle staircase to be able to turn it back around to go the direction you want to go. So if you're going this way and the killer pushes you in that way, you can turn it around by going this way through the stairs, and you can either run this way and jump back to that window, or you can jump to this window. You can even go up the stairs if you want. There's also different setups with the windows, so sometimes using the stairs is easier to turn it around because you'll run right into the one side window and it's lining up right with the staircase on the other side. But there's very easy ways to turn it back around and get right back behind that bush again if you really want to. I think so. And jump into this one. Use the bush. But that's the problem with the perfect bush, where specifically once they even figure out that when they go to try to learn some counterplay and go around a different way and you get pushed around a different way that you actually want to go, and say they push you around that way and all of a sudden you're jumping this one now and going somewhere else, that's the issue. And that's why they end up giving up a little bit too fast on the perfect trim. At the same time, we've already had our fun by that point anyway. This bush. This is the perfect bush. Oh god. Dang it. Can we make this one? I don't think so. Dang it. Take it around this way again. See what I mean by this bush? So here's some examples of just how beautifully a perfectly trimmed bush can perform in action. Damn it. Here we go. Use the bench. I'm gonna walk all the way around. Push me back in, but I have another window here. Medium vault, because I'm bad. But this one's open now. You see how strong this bush is? This is what I meant by the perfect bush. And now they're both blocked. And it had me paying attention to the bush RNG. Just like this. I don't know if I make it though. It's long and strong. He's gonna have that lusty blood. Yes, we do. What the fuck is up with that medium vault? Let's go up this way. But a lot of times the bush lines up like that. See, this is where it gets rough. Do we react in time? Because they can get rid of the red stain. I wanted you to vault it. Face me this way. I didn't expect them to go that way. A lot of times. Exactly that. Can we jump this and go around? No, we can't. Damn it. Damn it. Now we're running the bush I was just talking about. Isn't this fun? Oh shit. Well, this is bad. I'm gonna just take a hit here. Oh fuck. He's like, where the fuck is he? God damn it. I used the fucking... No, he didn't. Interesting. I hate that we get stuck on that, right? Oh, perfect bush. Oh, it's black now, though. Are they just... Maybe they're invisible in the void. See the perfect bush? We got the perfect bush. The fuck? Alright, come on, let's go. Use your power. Alright, that's fine. Yeah, so you run around this. You run right into this. You make this? I think so. And jump into this one. Use the bush! That's why I was talking about the bush. We got the fucking good bush spawn. Shit is ridiculous. Oh, get this. Yes, just barely. We can run up the stairs if we want. The thing with the bush is it's RNG though. Chase this way. Yeah. Are you a fan of bush?